Abuja. Right now, we'll be delving into the issue of the state of the nation, particularly the protests we've been seeing. Just about yesterday, we saw a protest in Abuja, in Ibadan, and before that, we had seen in Niger State and I believe Kano State. These are all as a result of the economic hardship, particularly the high cost of living that Nigerians are currently experiencing, with food inflation over 30% as we speak. We'll be taking a look at this, perhaps the way forwards, what Nigerians really need at this moment, and other issues. I've been joined now by Mr. Samuel Danjuma. He's a policy analyst, a politician, and a concerned Nigerian. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, my brother.
It's good to have you.
Same here.
All right. Perhaps I should ask how you're doing, because in Nigeria, a few people are smiling, so you always have to be very polite and find out if the person next to you is okay.
Sure, I'm fine.
All right. So let's talk about Nigerians. Yesterday we saw in Ibadan there were people coming out to protest. Some persons even made mention of suggested ideas that the president could use to get the country moving. I'd like to get your thoughts on the protests, first of all, perhaps before we delve into other issues like the response to the protests and so on and so forth.
Like you said earlier, protest, or I say for you to protest, is the right of every citizen. And that right shouldn't be taken. Yes, there's needed for you to come out and air your view when things are not going the way you expected it to go. But I have a different opinion to this. I remember in 2012, when the issue of subsidy came, Jonathan government removed subsidy on the 1st of January 2012. And the streets was filled with people protesting for the subsidy removal. I don't want Nigerians to make the same mistake this time around. We all knew what happened. Those who stood in quote in defense of the masses actually used those protests to find their way to power. And at the end of the day, it was a disaster. I remember in 2011, someone cried after he lost the presidential election. And all Nigerians said if he doesn't become president, Nigeria will not find his footing. If he becomes president, Nigeria will be Dubai in the next 6 months. Only for him to win and tell Nigerians that the manifesto of the party was different from he never said that. It was the party who said that. Now, what am I trying to point out here? This is not a time for protest. There's hunger in the land. There's pain in the land. But Nigerians should wake up this time around. Let those people not always use the masses to get to where they want to get to. With all the protests, all the leading presidential candidates in the last election coming on social media and on media to get social media validation and the rest of them, how many of them are on the streets? How many of their kids are on the streets? What have they done for the masses? What have they done for their supporters and their followers? How have they been able to reach out to better their lives? So it's enough time Nigerians should sit down and think this time around. When it comes to the time to share the national cake, there's no religion, there's no ethnicity, there's no social divides. They are all one. But when it comes to time to now use the masses to get what they want, they are always coming for us to put on the street. When it's time to share the national cake, how many of the masses are on that table? There are none. So I call on all Nigerians, please don't go and kill yourself for these same people. There's hunger in the land, no doubt. Things are not going the way it should go, no doubt. If we had allowed subsidy removal in 2012, by now Nigeria would have been better for it. But we refused. And now that we have a president who has stood his ground and from the first day made a statement and said subsidy is gone, I think it's high time we give him all the support we want and start asking these questions. And what are the questions? What have our state governors been doing with the increase in state allocations, federal allocations to states since the removal of subsidy?
All right. Let's begin with when you say that they shouldn't allow themselves to be used. As the way things are, with the way things are, do you believe perhaps the people on the streets are not really feeling any pain and just perhaps, going out because they are being perhaps egged on, or do you think maybe the situation in the country is not so dire that people might want to genuinely air their voices at this point?
The truth about it is there's hunger in the land. I said that before, I admitted that fact, there's hunger in the land. I think one thing that this government is lacking is we're in a state of emergency. Hunger is worse than even COVID. government is supposed, the Minister of Information, the DG, NOA, National Orientation Agency, is supposed to be giving us a day-to-day briefing of government policies and what government is doing to better the lives of the people. Because when people are not aware, when people are not informed, there's every tendency for people to believe whatever any other person says. And like I said, it's not time for social media validation. There's hunger. People should be on the street. But I put it to you that most of the people on the streets are also sponsored to be on the street.
But why?
Because I just told you,
if we were living in a time of plenty,
yes,
where things were obviously good, all the indices were right, maybe inflation wasn't in the double digits, poverty wasn't so high. I mean, when you see people airing so much discontent, you can say, well, everything seems to be fairly okay. Why are you out on the streets? But if you admit that there's already problems, isn't the natural response that people will cry?
Because people are not properly informed.
I remember
towards the end of Goodluck Jonathan's administration, the former Minister of Finance and the Economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, warned, we are eating tomorrow today. Now, will you also know that the last administration, all through their 8 years, was subsidizing the dollar? Were you aware?
When you say the last administration, you mean the President
Buhari's administration is there in public domain.
So the APC government was still in charge.
No, they were subsidizing the dollar. They were not telling Nigerians the truth picture. Now, if Nigerians were aware, what we have been doing all these years is we have been doing a cosmetic economic policy, whereby we use what we have just to make it look as if all is well when all is not well. The days of our plenty, we squandered it. We did not save for the rainy day. Now, you can't expect a country which economy is totally dependent on importation not to suffer what we are suffering. Then are we also honest to ourselves as a people? We're not. Now, I go back to the cement issue. 96% of what is used in producing cement are sourced here in the country. So how is dollar affecting that also? The man who brings sand from the river for your site will tell you that dollar is affected. Is that true? The transport fare from here in Abuja to Ayamba in Kogi State where I come from, is 7,000 naira. From here to Katsina is 7,000 naira. I would have gone to Ayamba and back to Abuja. The person going to Katsina hasn't gotten to Katsina. So we Nigerians are not just being honest to ourselves. Yes, there's hunger, but most of these are man-made. And when we are ready to put in the right things, and when we are ready to follow through, change is not easy. Change is hard. Change is painful. But we also know that it's not just the president. We have the state governors, we have the chairmen, we have the House of Representative members, we have the Senate. Okay, I put it to you. In December, a House of Representative member from Edo State came out to show trailer loads of rice that he was given to be given to his constituency. We have about 360 House of Representative members. Where are the rest? We have 109 senators. Where are theirs? Would you also blame the president for this? See, I'm one person that it's there. I have a lot of interviews on national TV before the presidential election, where I even stood and said if I was the son of the president, I would have been on every TV station telling my father and telling Nigerians not to vote for him because of age. But today, the same me, I've seen the kind of policies this man has been able. He has been able to make decisions that other presidents failed to do, and that's why we are where we are today.
But when you speak about Nigerians not allowing themselves be used like they were in the past, I mean, can we, make it clear that those who use Nigerians in the past, so that the people currently in government, isn't that a clear sign that at least the character of the persons in power, because we have multiple people, President Tinubu himself very vehemently fought against removal of subsidy. Now he's here and he's removing it. And even through the 8 years of President Buhari, he was an ardent supporter of the presidency when he began campaigning, and then he had issues with the CBN governor. But so by and large, when we talk about the issue of being used or not, wouldn't it seem fair that the only users, or not the only users anyway, that the current government has been guilty of that, so therefore maybe Nigerians shouldn't give them that much leeway, or because when they were in opposition, they gave no quarter. Now,
when the present president was in opposition, he came out to say we shouldn't remove fuel subsidy. Reasons best known to him. Along the line, he found out that subsidy cannot be sustained any longer. And he decided to now be the man to let go of the subsidy. And after removing subsidy, he has increased allocation that are going to states to caution the effects of the subsidy removal. The question is, what are our state governors doing with that added fund to the state allocations? That's the questions Nigerians should be asking. Now, before, why I said Nigerians should not allow themselves being used, I will be on the street when I see Atiku Abubakar, his wife and his children in the front line. I will be on the street when I see Peter Obi and his wife and his children on the front line. I'll be on the street when I see all these PDP governors now coming to talk about this. What are PDP governors doing separately in their states?
But these persons, the ones not in power, if we are being fair, most of them are billionaires. They're actually not feeling the direct effects of this. So my point is that they are not the ones in power. So why do we expect anything from them?
They are not in power, but they're instigating the people.
But is there any proof of that?
You have read their statements in public.
No, they're condemning policies.
Okay, now I ask the question. If you are truly being patriotic, you don't need to be the number one person to give the needed assistance you need to give to the government of the day to get those policies you claim to have to begin to effect, to bring them to effect. Why not tell Nigerians the real truth? To
be very fair, the former vice president's Twitter post actually outlined exactly what should be done. He gave the exact policy direction. He condemned the current things, and then he said what he would do. So I believe, don't you think he has already offered?
No. He said,
if the government wants to
this
take
is somebody, this is somebody I've supported for 2 decades of my life. So I think I know better. Okay? Talk is cheap.
No, but you ask for ideas.
Okay?
There are different ideas.
No, I'm coming. Now, if I have ideas and I want to sell to you, and I sell it to the former vice president has direct access to the president. So if he has those lofty ideas and he feels he wants to better the lives of Nigerians, he should be able to pass those ideas directly to the president. I remember the former president talking about he handing over his blueprint in 2014 and in 2014 years to the Muhammadu Buhari government then. Has he done the same?
But the current president didn't. He also had direct contact with the President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and publicly still called him out.
No.
Is there anything really wrong with it?
The issue of Jonathan and the president was that Jonathan was in the PDP, the president was in the APC, and now it was time for election, and everybody needed to say whatever they needed to say to get the votes they needed to get. That's politics for you.
No, but
elections are over. This is time for governance. And we should stop this partisan propaganda every day and night, looking for social media validation. It is time for serious business. Do we have an issue? Yes, we do. What are the ways to resolve this issue? These are the things we should be discussing, not preparing the ground for 2027.
Is that what happening?
Yeah, that's what's happening. We should be alive to 2027 before you even look for our votes.
But if we want to talk about anyone who has mentioned 2027, maybe you can correct me, but to the best of my knowledge, it has come from the APC government. Just this on Sunday, the Minister of, although technically he's a PDP member, but the Minister of FCT, who is in this administration, said that he doesn't see anyone who can come against them in 2027. And some persons found it a bit insensitive. With everything Nigerians are going through, you're thinking about politics in 2027. No. How many people will be alive in 2027 if things don't get better?
Now, do you know why the former minister, the present minister of the FCT and the former governor of Rivers State is saying what he's saying? It's because he's an insider. He has seen this economic policy and he has seen that these things, if properly implemented, are given the necessary support. Now, if Nigerians could give the present administration half the support they gave to the Buhari administration, we will not be where we are today. The question is this: are these policies going to better our lives? The answer is yes. Do we give them time to run? Nigerians are not being patient. Nigerians are not being patient.
But didn't it cost anything? Let's look at it this way. If Nigerians protest, if they complain, if they cry, does it affect anything? Does it affect the policies of the government?
Like I said earlier, protest is the right of a citizen. It's enshrined in our constitution. I have the right to peaceful protest. It's when it becomes violent, that's where there's an issue. Yes, there's every right to cry out, because I will cry out because I am not properly informed. Now, let me tell you something. In the words of my wife, she said you can't cause a nation or cause a land, in her exact word, and expect that land to bring you good fortune. Nigerians are not patriotic. Nigerians don't believe in themselves and in their country. Nigerians don't believe that anything good can come out of this country and this administration, and you are still expecting something good? It doesn't work that way. I remember in 2007, we had a president who at the presidential retreat for newly elected office holders said, for once, let us work for Nigerians so that Nigerians can be proud to be called Nigerians. That's the words of former President Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory. In quote. Now, are we actually being sincere? Are we allowing government policies to run? This is no rock. This is no magic. You don't expect somebody to just get there and just swing his hand and everything Nigeria turns to Dubai overnight. No, it's a process. This what we are suffering today has been there from time immemorial. I remember this man was the only governor who stood his ground in 1999 against an opposition governor or government and got the best for Lagos. I told you I stood to fight this man not to be president. But today I've seen policies that he has been able to put in place, and if we allow it to run, Nigeria will be better for it. Let's stop politics. This is not time for politicking. This is time for governance. We have another 4 years, less than 4 years to another election. Let's allow this man work for the betterment of Nigerians. Putting him under pressure, if you like his looks or not, he is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today. So we should give him all the support he needs. We should tell our people the truth. I call on his Minister of Information and the DG of NOA to come out on a daily basis and give Nigerian, and also the PRO in CBN and that of the Minister of Finance, to give them their day-to-day update of what government is doing to better our lives. Now, he had a meeting with the state governors. Plans were programs and way of implementations were lined out. Nobody is discussing about it. Why? Because they know that if those plans are properly implemented, Nigeria will be better for it. But because there's a thought of let's paint in black to prepare ourselves for 2027 and look ourselves as good, they won't talk about it.
All right. I think the question is, maybe Nigerians might feel is a bit unfair if everything, and when I say everything, I'm being very liberal with the word, that the current government did while in opposition is suddenly becoming treasonous. Because particularly the other day when the chief of staff to the president, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, spoke about controlling social media, people brought up his post where he said the government was an accidental government. He said all sorts of things while in a bid to perform the work of opposition. So one interesting thing that you wish you've made note of here, that perhaps the ministry and the NOA should be more concerned with really now what's going on. And I'll note an interesting thing that happens whenever particularly the vice president brings out his statements. Let me not say whenever, to an extent, a majority of the times he speaks on this government, there is always a reply. And the reply comes from usually the party, and then it comes also from the ministry, from the government itself. If it's not from the presidency, it's from the Ministry of Information or wherever. So, and someone made a comment that it seems as though the APC still behaves like opposition, because you have someone who's not in government talking and you're replying him every minute, but you're not, perhaps communicating with Nigerians. So the question is, if you've done this in the past, it should be acceptable now. I mean, in the past, we saw people taking coffins of President Goodluck Jonathan. Yes. Some persons even, what's the word? They made cartoons of him, caricatures, and it was all taken as speaking truth to power, trying to perform opposition. So, in this regard, you mentioned something about pressure. Don't you think that is precisely what the president needs? Nigeria has about 200 million people. He needs to constantly, 24/7, feel the pressure. Know that you just a mention of a word from you, the life of hundreds of millions of Nigeria can change drastically or better. So is it really bad if the pressure is mounting, insurmountably so, because it's Nigeria, it's the giant of Africa? And there's one thing the president and his circle always says. Even the Senate president made mention of this on Sunday, which is that they campaigned for the job and they are aware of how it is. So they don't need anybody to coddle them. So do you think perhaps the opposition were seeing people coming out at the things the government needs to constantly be in the know that I need to do the best I can?
Now, the information at the disposal of the former vice president, because of his position he held in the country before, is different from that at the disposal of the present president when he was in the opposition and not yet the president. He was a governor. Now, why do you think they respond to him most of the time? Is because they know you know. And forget, you shouldn't also forget that he was also part of those who brought the APC in 2014. Okay. So you know, you actually know the truth, but because of your own political interest, you just want to set the people against the government. Now, let me ask a question. Many times I've supported the former vice president. The people from Adamawa has always said, what did he do for them when he was vice president? And we find it difficult to defend it, even if we try to. 8 years, somebody was governor of Anambra State. And what he succeeded in doing, if you ask him, was that he saved money. And I asked this simple question. If I save money in my account and my children are dying of hunger, God forbid, if I die tomorrow, my relations will spend and squander that money and my kids will not even have access to it. That's what happened to the people of Anambra. Tell me one industry that the former governor of Anambra State brought to Anambra when he was governor for 8 years. The only industry he invested in was the brewery, which belongs to his family has a very large share in. So what are we talking about? How did he turn the economy of Anambra State when he was governor? Compared to the president when he was governor of Lagos and what Lagos is today. Lagos is like a country within a country. The revenue that comes from Lagos is more than the revenue that comes, internal generation is more than the revenue that comes from 14 states in the federation. So this man has a plan. This man is heading somewhere. Allow this man function and function well. When they were subsidizing dollar in the former administration of President Muhammad Buhari, we had Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Where was his voice? He was in Dubai. He was in Dubai. Where did we see him anywhere? He only goes and comes back every 4 years. Where was Obi? None of them were saying anything. So now they just suddenly got their voices back. And like I said, if they are truly sincere and patriotic to Nigerians, and so they should stop riding on the pains and the injuries of Nigerians just for their political gain. There's a video I saw at the weekend when Obi went for, there's this newspaper award they did in Lagos at the weekend. And somebody came close to him. If you could see the reaction on his face at the person, not just coming to media and be making, when people you just go there to create that awareness because of your political ambition. No. This man was not actually close to the people. This man was not actually a people's person. He can't come and wash it now because he wants to get into the presidency. I put it to you, if Obi was president, worst things would have still happened. This is not magic. I told you this warning came far back, even back, if you go back to 2014. That if we don't take time, the next president after Jonathan will find it difficult because of our economic policies and what we're doing then. The same state governors, when Jonathan said he wanted to save money for the remaining days, the same state governors sued the president. Today, they just want us to believe that the problem of Nigeria is just the president. What are our state governors doing? Now, for the cement, would you also know that because of the Ministry of Works now doing more of concrete roads, it has affected the supply of cement. The demand for cement is more, the supply is less. Simple economics. When the demand is more and the supply is less, the prices will skyrocket. So why are we making it look as if there's one big problem? Yes, there's hunger, no doubt. Are there policies towards that? Yes. Have we given those policies room to grow, to strive? No. We're even fighting them before the time. All because of our political ambition. Elections are over. This is time for governance. Everybody come together.
So what would you say? What would you say is an acceptable form of opposition to you? Is it silence?
The acceptable form of opposition to me is constructive criticism.
And you believe that's not what has been happening?
This is not what is happening. All that is happening has a political coloration. Now, remember, it was the APC, not just President Bola Tinubu, that was on the street. We had Fani Falana Thank God he has been to court a few weeks ago and got a judgment for the fixing of prices of goods and commodities and the rest of them. Good. These are what I want. Go to court, check for laws, relevant laws. Let those laws be interpreted and let the right things be done. Now, you go to the market this morning, you buy something. There's this saying in the public domain that when you go to the market and the person you want to buy something from picks his phone, tell him don't pick first. Hold on. Sell for me before you pick, because we are just increasing prices on a daily basis. Nigerians are celebrating. They are making money from the pains of others. You saw there was a video 2 weeks ago on social media where there was a warehouse in Kano loaded with foodstuffs, and they said it belongs to World Hunger and whatsoever, World Food Program and the rest of them. We are dying of hunger and you are stockpiling food. How many times has Obi and Atiku bought trailer loads of foodstuff and share for Nigerians that are suffering?
They're not in government.
They don't need to be in government.
But what about the government? They don't need to do anything.
The president just released grains.
That's his job.
He released grains. In my state governor just bought cereals, rice that he wants to also share. Why? And you remember in the days of COVID, there was the display of billions. I give 1 billion naira to federal government for this. I give one this to that. Those people with all those money, why not start impacting the lives of your local community? You don't need to be government to influence the life of your local government. As small as I am, I know what I'm doing at my own capacity to influence the lives of those around me. But
if we can hold people who are not in government to account, we should have even multiple times more responsibility on the government, don't you think?
That's why.
And also we've spoken to a number of experts. Maybe you might differ with them.
Okay.
But they explain that the issue of hoarding is not really hoarding; it's simply, selling your goods as they come, and that it's perfectly normal to have things stored up, and that they don't even gain, like particularly in Nigeria, where the manner of storage is not always the best. So when you feel you want to, hoard, you're the one who ends up losing, because by the time you want to sell it, it has gone bad, and so on and so forth. So, but that's another issue. But I think perhaps you can help us out in terms of helping us understand which of the policies exactly have given you some level of hope that, even if as at the moment it might not be all the best or look all shiny, but you feel this particular one or these ones are the ones that are going to lead somewhere, and perhaps Nigerians should take note of those policies.
First, we all knew when this government came in. Before now, the government were the one fixing the price exchange rate for dollar and the rest of them. This government has given an open market. Let the market indices determine the use the rates and the interest on dollars and the rest of them. It's a good development. Now, a nation where we have people who have over $30 billion stored in their domiciliary account, that's the nation where people are suffering. So that means some individuals even have more reserve than the federal government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and they are comfortable. Why people are suffering? Are those people being patriotic? They are not. Now, somebody goes to the market, gets a price, gets something from the market, artificial. I had someone who told me that he now determines the price of how he sells his thing because there's no price control. I think the only thing I want this government to do for me that they are not doing is I want this government to set up a price control board, like it has always been before then, whereby prices of these things are being regulated by government. It will go a long way to help us in solving this issue. Now, you asked of the policy. I talked about the dollar policy, the monetary policy, which is a beautiful one. You talked about the plans the president has ruled out to caution this effect. He has released grains from the reserves. He has talked about releasing about 100 billion for farmers, and I pray he doesn't end in private pockets and the rest of them. These are all the policies. Now, there's something Nigerians don't even know. Buhari's administration released a lot of billions to cutting farmers. Most of those farmers use those money for their private use. And his intention was for us to be self-sufficient and also export. So when I talk about Nigerians not being patriotic, you get money from government, you feel it's a free money, you begin to marry more wives, you buy more cars, You don't use it for the essence, and there's hunger in the land at the end of the day. So government policies are beautiful. The only thing is that they are not communicating to Nigerians. Money policy is fine. Agricultural policy, beautiful. I think for the first time they have spoken to the cement manufacturers and the rest of them to cut down the prices of cement and all that. The removal of subsidy is one of the best policy this government has implemented, and I'm so pleased and happy with it. Because in 2012, I was one person who supported Jonathan's government for the removal of subsidy. I was not on the street crying for the subsidy to return, no, because I knew that when subsidy is removed and you allow people import this product, since our refinery is already working, when there's much product in the land, automatically the prices are going to fall, because when the supply is more than the demand, automatically the prices are going to fall. But no, we did not allow that to survive. Now,
so just to cut him for the issue of subsidy, reports now have it that it's actually back.
It's not official yet.
Through the back door.
It's official. So I don't want to. As the government come out to say subsidy has been.
And now they're even paying more than ever before.
Now, what do Nigerians?
So it's like going one step forward.
You remember I said this on last time I was on this program. What do Nigerians really want? Do we want to eat our future and that of our children yet unborn? Or do we want a better and a working country for all of us? I said it earlier in the words of my wife. You can't curse the land and expect it to bring good fortune for you. Nigerians don't believe in Nigeria. Nigerians are not patriotic. Nigerians are quick to go. I don't know if you know, there's economic issues in the UK. How many British citizens have you seen on TV stations cursing?
There are a lot, actually.
Cursing their president?
They do it a lot. Yeah.
Cursing their president and cursing the country. There's nothing good can come out of this country.
But it's a very, if it was speaking about opposition, then in developed countries, I think what we see here is even milder compared. The President Joe Biden, he gets way more flack than President Tinubu does. President Trump, when he was there, the same thing. We have a journalist.
You know that the issue of
we even have a journalist who went all the way to Russia.
President Trump and the CNN were not in good terms.
Yes, and they made it very clear. The entire station ran almost 24/7 against the president.
Was America no better under Donald Trump than it is today?
And now we have the opposite. We have Fox News and the rest who also actively go against Donald Trump. So it seems as though it's something that's very common, everywhere else.
That's why I've said it.
And if you want to talk about demarketing the nation, so to speak, it will be really hard to take away this current APC government and what they did while in opposition, because even President Tinubu didn't refer to President Jonathan at the time as President Jonathan. He just calls him Jonathan, and then all these things. And nobody accused them of demarketing the nation.
It boils back to what do those in government, given those positions to speak for the government, what do they actually do? I said it, when people don't know what the government is doing, there's every possibility for them to believe whatever anybody says. Did Goodluck Jonathan's administration actually come out to let Nigerians understand the true picture of what the economy was? This is not time for secrecy in governance. This is time to let the people know the truth. The roof is on fire, but this is what we are doing to caution it, the effect. Then people will now believe in you. It will build more confidence in the people. Now, the APC did it. I told you the APC did it and got into power. Now, are we also saying that it's now time for PDP to do the same thing and get into power? Is that what we want?
But this was done against the PDP.
It was done against the PDP, but did the PDP actually also come out? You know the issue with the PDP, that PDP had opposition even within the party who were bent at getting at Jonathan at all cost to make sure Jonathan did not come back for a second time. The issue is different here. Now, I said constructive criticism. Government, this policy is not going the way it's supposed to go. This is what we're supposed to do. This is how we're supposed to do it. Nigerians, yes, there's a problem. But the government has been able to do this. But if they do like this, it will be better. This is what I want to hear. Not talking down the government just because you feel if you are there, you will do better. Most times when you are sitting outside and you're watching the match, you tend to know all the way to make it work and score all the goals. But when you get into the ring, and it's now time for you to play it, you begin to see the real picture that it wasn't actually what you think it was. So at this point of our national life, people are hungry, people are angry, People are dying of hunger. This is not time for politics. This is time to join hands with the government and actually fashion out ways to better the lot of Nigeria. That is just my point. And enough of deceiving the masses, who are actually the ones getting the bond, to come to the streets while you stay in your air-conditioned houses and air-conditioned cars with your children and watch them on television being molested and beaten by security agencies, because most of the time when they get there, they say an hungry man is an angry man. There's every possibility that something might provoke them and they will go. It will not become a peaceful protest any longer.
But don't you think these opposition figures coming out would be seen as treason? You know?
No.
Because if they are leading these protests, when after claiming that the election was stolen, it gives an impression that
when you come out and the message is Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are suffering, there's insecurity, there's hunger in the land, the government should do the right thing.
Well, that's what they're doing on social media.
When the person or the vice president is in a protest, there's going to be adequate security for him. By so doing, every other person who is on that protest will actually fall in line. It's different when somebody who is just been an activist is on the street, and it's possible he won't even be able to get one security personnel to be with him, and he won't be able to control the people when they come out at the end of the day. So the thing is, it's not by looking for social media validation. What are you doing in your own little way? Have you been able to reach out to your own supporters? Not just Nigerians again, those who believe in you are supporting you. Have you been able to reach out to them? Have you been able to give them, have you been able to assist them? Have you been able to alleviate their suffering? You have not, in your own person. So if you have not been able to do that, how do you think it's going to be different? You think if these people were in government, Nigeria would have been in Dubai by now? We thought so. I told you somebody cried in 2011, and his government is the worst government we have had since the inception of democracy. And now here we are again. So enough.
Can we talk about that and how up until the new government took over, perhaps even some months after, this wasn't the rhetoric, particularly from those in power. And I wonder, wouldn't it be understandable if Nigerians are angry or feel deceived in a manner of speaking that, well, you didn't speak out in the last 8 years, which is why when other people are speaking out now, we know their stances, just as we knew President Tinubu's stance with President Jonathan, we knew where he stood, very clearly. But for the last, let's say 8 years, day and night, on my program here, we brought multiple persons. They said the President Buhari is the best president, he's done the best. And it wasn't just random people saying this, it was people in this current government. So it was as though, like you said before, where it's like you want to bring something down so you can rule over it or thereabouts. So people start to wonder, when President Buhari was doing these things and you were supporting him, what was happening? Why couldn't you stand your ground? Why couldn't you say, this is not good for the country? Why did you let this happen to the point that now it seems as though Nigerians are even harder on you because the work you have to do has been worsened and made? The other day, the Senate president said they don't know what to charge the CBN governor with. That is that bad. They don't know if they should charge him with this or that he caused so much damage, irreparable damage. And Mr. Godwin Emefiele had a principal, and nobody mentions him. So when we take a look at that, how do we accept it that, well, you people in power supported the previous people in power, and you're telling us now that they were bad? Does it mean that as you speak to us, even if things are bad, you would not also say it?
No. We all remember in this country in 2014 when President Buhari won the election, and when they came into power in 2015, we noticed that the first 3 years of that government, they were not too much in good terms with the present president and the present president now. We saw there was a power wrangling. People thought that President Tinubu would have been able to have guided him, but immediately he became president, the cabals from the north came and sealed up everywhere. And couldn't even there was a time that there were rumors that Tinubu was not even, the President Tinubu now was not even given access to get to the president. Now, I told you I was one person. There are videos. Internet doesn't lie and doesn't forget. There are videos where I stood and said, if I was President Tinubu's son, I would have been on every TV station telling him not to run. But the same me today is here on another national TV saying that with what I've seen so far, if giving this man the needed support, Nigeria will be better for it. Now, does it mean that if tomorrow I see that President Tinubu is going the other way around, I will not speak? I will speak. But I will speak in a way whereby I will pass the message. I was trying to give an instance. If you want to advise me, and you're advising me insultively, I won't take that advice. But if you're advising me politely and making me understand and making me see my faults where I'm not doing it right, certainly I'll go back to my closet and review what we have all said. And we'll discuss. Most of these people have direct access to the president. Have you met the president? Have you had a one-on-one with the president? Have you sat down with the president and said, Mr. President, yes, you're the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I know I ran against you, but at this point, this, if it is done this way, it will be better. No, they have not. Do any of them want to sincerely and honestly tell Nigerians that they are not doing what they are doing because they want to buy over Nigerians, knowing that Nigerians are very sentimental, Nigerians are very emotional, and they can easily be swayed by what their leaders, a supposed messiah in quotes, might tell them, so they can get into power? These people have had their opportunity in government. And the question remains, we've had where Obi Okosile has come out on different forums to tell Nigerians that what happened in the Obasanjo and Atiku's administration was not just completely an Atiku thing when it comes to the economy. That most of the time, he was not even the one playing. The second tenure of Obasanjo, we all know that Atiku was actively not in charge. We had the El-Rufai, it was said then Governor Nasir El-Rufai was the vice president de facto. So let's not stop deceiving ourselves and deceiving Nigerians. Tell Nigerians the truth. We have a big problem in our hands. Hunger is worse than anything. Let those in government now come out on a daily basis and give Nigeria lowdown of what is happening, what they have been able to do, where they are going about it, so that Nigerians will also have the confidence in this government. And let Nigerians be patriotic enough to give this government the support they need. You can't cause a land and expect that land to bring you its good fortune. It is time for Nigerians to rally around our president and this government for the betterment of Nigerians. Do I say you shouldn't protest? Why not? When it's not going the way you should go. But please, don't let these politicians deceive you this time around. Until their children and they themselves are in the front line, let no Nigerian be on the street. We know what happened about NSAS. We know what has happened to other protests that has happened in this country. Enough of shedding the blood of the innocent masses in the name of getting political gains. It is time to face governance and face it squarely for the betterment of all. Criticize, beautiful, but do it constructively, disrespectfully. You have access to the president, you have the ear of the president. I said it in different forums that is open to suggestion. No man is an island. He can't know it all. Sell your ideas to this man for the betterment of Nigeria. And also, from the little God has given you, reach out to Nigerians also. Help Nigerians around you. Help those that are working with you. Help those that are on the street. Help your supporters. There's nothing bad in you buying 100 load of rice and sharing for Nigerians. It's not bad. You don't need to be in government to do that. Help people. The Holy Book says the poor will always be in our midst. There's nothing the government, even in the United States of America, we have destitutes on the streets of the United States of America. We have on the streets of the UK. So let's not make it look as if it's just only in Nigeria. Yes, no doubt there's hunger in the land. Agreed. Nigerians are finding it difficult to feed, no doubt about it. But we should all come together. Change is a very difficult and painful path to go. The way we have known before is not going to work. We can't continue eating our future and that of our children yet unborn in the name of wanting to have a better Nigeria. Let's suffer it now and get it right. But the government should also know that we are giving them all the support now. They should also make sure that those who are in those positions to implement those policies are actually doing the right thing. And if they are not doing, they should be removed. There should be a day-to-day update of what is happening. And we should beam our torchlight on our state governors and legislatures also. What are they also doing with the resources in their hands? Thank you.
All right, fair enough. So the question I would ask now is, realistically speaking, if you were to speak to any Nigerian out there, just as a sort of a ballpark figure, how long would you say they should wait to see signs? I want to see, proof that what is being done is working. And I mean this, when I say this now, I'm talking about the type of thing that they can see without having to, go anywhere. Because when you talk about the government, informing Nigerians of what's going on, it implies that it's something they might not be aware of. But we've also seen Nigerians praise governments, governors, presidents, on their own, without they saw it. Take, for instance, one issue now that is causing a bit of ruckus across Nigeria. If you go online, you speak to people across different states, people are lamenting about power. And the people who lament the most are those who are trying to chart a new course of economic development. That is to say, in the past, or currently as we have it, to have 9 to 5. You go to the office, you work for a month, you get your money. But there is millions of Nigerians now who have found ways to simply stay at home. Either they are working remotely, some are creating content. And in particular, there was one I saw the other day, a young man who creates football content. He talks about football, soccer, all the likes. And he complained about having woken up and that in the most productive hours of the day, he could not do anything. Because of life. And he was power. He was discouraged. So even when the power comes, another person, this is speaking to this other person, this is someone who is on the upper echelon in terms of when it comes to revenue, earnings. I know that this person is not, she's not in the bottom rung at all. And she was also complaining that she has had to reschedule her working hours to night time because that is the only time she gets that. And the interesting thing is that this actually worsened recently. It wasn't always there. And now the minister, some people will call it a threat, is now saying that subsidy for electricity is no longer sustainable, which is to say Nigerians expect to pay more, even with all we're already going through. So with all of this, if you want to speak to people like this and others, what time is realistic enough for them to see? Because I think one thing about Nigerians is that they can't bear pains, people say, why have Nigerians not completely gone and taken over the streets? And someone explained that the price of fuel went over 823% increase from the time of Jonathan to the time of President Buhari, and nobody really came out and did anything. So I think Nigerians can endure. So now the question is, realistically speaking, when can they look and say, what I'm suffering now, by this time, give or take, I would have seen an effect in my own life, not what the government is telling me?
One thing is, I don't speak for the government, I speak for the masses. And one thing I always tell Nigerians, and I tell those who are close to me, is in another 4 years, they'll be out there again, asking for our vote. Let's give this man between now and 2026. Between then, he would have been able to have done what we expect him to do. So, let's give him 4 years. If he doesn't do anything in 4 years, he will come back in 2027 to ask us for his vote again, for the votes again. By that time, we'll tell him, sir, you were there, nothing you did. By this time, it's time to vote you out. But I want the president also to beam his light on his lieutenants. Any of them who is not functioning well should be laid off.
All right.
6 months, 3 months, 8 months, you don't function, you're gone. Bring in other hands that know what they need to do. And Nigerians will better, but Nigerians should give this man at least the first 3 years.
All right.
We're almost close to the end of the first year. In another 2 years, if we're not seeing any changes, then Nigerians now have the time to protest with their votes in 2027.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Samuel Danjuma.
Thank you, my brother.
I know you came even while you were under the weather. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all we have for this segment of the program. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, the polity continues, and perhaps we'll be joined by some more analysts to do some more justice to the issue at hand. Stay with us. We'll be right back.